Hi, Gene here with today's thought, and today we're going to the Supreme Court. Why are we going to the Supreme Court? Let me just give you a brief summary of what probably a lot of you already know, which is that the Colorado Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, ruled that Donald Trump could be kept off the Colorado ballot for the presidential election. Naturally, the president appealed to the Supreme Court. The court agreed to hear the case, and today is the day. They are hearing the case right now as I'm recording this, the day before you're seeing it. And I just wanted to give you my thoughts on it, which is, well, put it this way, they're still hearing the case and it's already obvious. Well, let me show you a quote first from Jonathan Turley. You probably know who he is. He's on the TV all the time. He's a professor of law, and he's a legal expert on the Supreme Court. He has been following on his Twitter feed. You can go there right now, just search for Jonathan Turley, and he's been commenting on the case as the oral argument has been heard. I didn't have time to listen to the whole thing. I listened to some of it. This was the questioning of Jason Murray. Jason Murray is the attorney for Colorado, and to give you a brief summary, the questioning was brutal, put it that way. And here's the quote from Jonathan Turley, who has been following it. Murray is finally done. That was rough. He took more arrows than Saint Sebastian, and they were coming from, this is the important part, they were coming from both the left and the right of the court. But it's already obvious. As I said, I only listened to a few minutes, and the questioning was brutal. It was just brutal, and it came from both sides. So I don't predict the future. I could be proven wrong, but it seems pretty clear to me that Trump's going to win the case, that the state Supreme Court of Colorado is going to be reversed. Trump can stay on the ballot. That will not only keep Trump on the ballot in Colorado, but will also keep him on every ballot. It will end the argument completely. There will be no more such cases, no more disqualifications of Trump from the ballot. I would expect the decision to come fairly soon, because we've got Super Tuesday coming up in a few weeks. So where you'll have several state primaries going, because they want to keep Trump off the state primary ballots too. And so I would expect a fairly quick decision for that reason, and also because the Supreme Court, because it was so obvious that most of the Supreme Court, and it would not surprise me if the decision is unanimous that Trump is going to win. This is going to be a big win, not just for Trump, but for America. Because, this was one of the questions and it came from Kagan, okay, one of the left-wing justices, Justice Kagan, and one of her questions to the attorney for Colorado was, if Colorado is allowed to do this, then how that affects every other state, right? I mean, you need a certain amount of electoral votes to win and all that. She said, why does a state Supreme Court have the right to do this? Another justice, I don't remember who it was, asked an obvious question. What kind of chaos? What prevents Republican Supreme Courts, state Supreme Courts, and this from doing the same thing? Why should every state be able to decide individually whether a presidential candidate remains on the ballot? I mean, They just tore all the arguments apart, and also the 14th Amendment, whether it even applies to the president at all, and let's just wait to see what happens. But as I said in the title to this vlog, it does not look good for the Trump haters. It doesn't, who can't beat him, who are admitting de facto that they can't beat him on the issues. So they're just trying to keep him off the ballot, period. So he can't even run at all. that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. You're going to have to win on the issues. And you don't have to subscribe to my vlog, but I hope you will. So I got a couple more subscribers the last couple days, by the way. I'm happy to say, it's good news and bad news. It's bad that I'm getting so many new subscribers that I don't have time to thank them individually as I did in the beginning when I would have like 5 or 6. But so that's the bad news, that I can't thank them all. But the good news is that you're subscribing, and I really, really appreciate it. And so if more of you could subscribe, that would really be great. If you could share this video, whether you subscribe or not, with anyone you think would benefit from it, that would really be great. But most of all, come back and see me again. And I would be interested to hear your comments, your own views, especially if you were able to listen to the oral arguments or follow the case. And I guess that's it for today. There was actually, I'm kind of dawdling here because there's one more point I wanted to make, but I forgot what it was. So I'll just, it might be one of these cases where I'll shut off the vlog, I'm done, and then I'll remember what it was and I'll turn it back on again. But for now, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you soon. And until I do, bye. And back again. Sure enough, as soon as I shut off the camera, I remembered the other issue that I wanted to address, which is that one of the justices asked Murray, the attorney for Colorado, how should we rule so that this issue does not come up again? And that's a very good point, because were the Supreme Court to rule that a state Supreme Court could disqualify a presidential candidate, then it occurs to me, I mean, it would seem fairly obvious that other courts would do the same thing in future elections, and not necessarily against a Republican candidate, because Republicans would probably want payback and they would do the same thing. And those potentially every time a state Supreme Court or a Secretary of State would disqualify a candidate, that candidate would appeal and would go to would go back to the Supreme Court, because it wouldn't be an issue of whether the Supreme Court, whether the candidate could be disqualified in a particular state. The court would have ruled on that, but it would be a matter of whether it was justified in this particular instances. So if you have 10 states disqualify a candidate, then you could have 10 Supreme Court cases. Yes, they had the right to disqualify the candidate, but there was no basis on which to disqualify this candidate in this case. So the obvious slippery slope, the obvious moral hazard of the Supreme Court upholding what I consider to be a ridiculous Colorado State Supreme Court decision. This is just one more reason why I'm pretty confident that the Supreme Court will rule in favor of Trump. He will be on the ballot in every state, and you Democrats and never Trumper Republicans and whoever you are who don't want Trump to be reelected, you're going to have to do it on the issues. Sorry. Well, either on the issues or by cheating. Those are the only two ways, but you're not going to get any help from the Supreme Court. And okay, this is it for sure. Thanks for bearing with me. You know, I'm getting old. You forget stuff and then you remember it. But I'll see you all again soon, and bye.